Hello everyone, this is Gautam from Shailaja. This video, the issue that we'll be discussing is the recently held AI Summit in February 2026. That is from February 16th to February 20th. It was held in New Delhi. It was the fourth edition of AI Summit that has been held across the world. If you look into the history of it, actually it was in November 2022. Your ChatGPT was first released to the world, and within 2 months, it was able to get around 10 crore subscribers all across the world. It was the most viral adoption of any technological product in the history of mankind. So then people began thinking that whatever was this artificial intelligence, it is not just limited to all the research labs or in very niche academic circles. No, it has now come out into the public life. And therefore, governments felt that this, like any technology, it is always going to have a dual purpose. Even a simple a knife can be used to cut a vegetable, can be used to take away life. So a monumental transformative technology like artificial intelligence can also be misused for multiple purposes. So the governments across the world felt that now it is high time that we all come together, arrive at a consensus on how to channelize this technological development. And the first AI summit was held in 2023 in UK in a Bletchley Park. And governments, India also participated, and governments felt that safety needs to be included into the AI development. Right, so that was one of the important outcomes of this AI summit. Right, in 2024, the second edition of AI summit was held in Seoul, South Korea. It also re-emphasized that we need to include safety as an integral part of AI development. Third edition was held in France. France said that yes, along with safety, this artificial intelligence should also be actionable. Particularly, it should be used in the action of public interest. Right? The fourth summit is one which was held in India, and it was termed as AI Impact Summit. So the focus is now along with safety, along with action for public interest, it is about how impactful it is. Is it impactful only for the privileged sections, or is it impactful even for the bottom sections of society? So it was in this context the summit was held. The summit is just nothing but a get-together of your political leaders, of your corporate organization heads, of your policymakers, so that they'll have an informal discussion on where is the technology heading, what should be the role of governments, what should be the role of civil society, what should be the role of corporations. They're somehow trying to bring in that sort of a regulation. It has not yet taken a very institutionalized structure. For example, the United Nations is an institutional structure. There is every year annual gatherings, there is membership, there is voting, there is approvals, there are certain rules that needs to be followed. That's a proper institutional structure. This AI summit, whatever we have seen the 4 editions, is a more of informal gathering. They are just trying to understand and discuss and arrive at some sort of a consensus on what needs to be the future of AI development, both with regards to how it is supposed to develop and what are the regulations that needs to be put in place. That's the idea, right? They always they want to understand what can be done so that simultaneously it is going to reap the benefits of the AI development. At the same time, it is going to prevent its harm. Right. So in 2024 Seoul Summit, AI Summit, 4 AI safety institutes were established. One in UK, US, Japan, and India. And these institutes were primarily focused on understanding the safety for AI development, how to incorporate this, what guidelines needs to be provided, what sort of transparency, accountability measures needs to be put in place. So safety, actionable for the public interest, and now the impact part of it. Okay, so that's the background behind this AI Summit itself. It has been termed as AI Impact summit, right? And in this summit, our Honorable Prime Minister gave out India's vision for artificial intelligence, and he framed it through a framework called as your MANAV framework. MANAV, I think everyone knows. MANAV is nothing but Desi word for human. Okay, so somehow the framework is giving a central message that AI development needs to have humans at the center of its strategy. Human dignity should be at the center of its strategy. Okay, so there is an expansion of this MANAV framework. We'll look into the details of it as we go along this video. Right, so that's the premise on which I want to have this particular video. To just give you a context or background of what exactly is happening in this AI Impact Summit. Okay, you are Sam Altman, you are Google CEO Sundar Pichai, your France president, all of them big industry leaders, or your Microsoft, your Google, all of them participated, gave out their opinions. Your Anthropic AI, all of them, you can say, participated and gave out, voiced out their opinions with regard to the AI development. And in this platform, our Prime Minister, because we are the host of this summit, okay, so whatever Prime Minister says, it's more or less like India is trying to give this framework for AI development, and the framework is termed in the acronym called as MANAV, right? So before we understand the details of this MANAV framework, we'll first have what is India's current position? What are our strategic advantages with regard to AI development? Where are we currently standing? What our shortcomings are? Where we are with regard to the so-called AI race that is happening in the world? And then we'll look into the framework, and then we'll understand what more needs to be done from not just, you can say, slogans, not just attractive acronyms. What more needs to be done from an Indian side, right? So before we move into the India's current position, we'll first understand what are the three pillars of this AI race or AI development. The very first pillar is your algorithm itself, the coding part of it, the human intelligence. Whatever is the data that is available, how effectively you are able to extract the intelligence out of it, how effectively you are able to code it. So that's the human intelligence or the brain part of it. Okay, so that's why you can see now big companies like Meta are trying to give, you can say, $50 million, $100 million for one person in order to jump from OpenAI to Meta. So there is this massive, you can say, tech talent hunting that is going on. So everyone is offering massive amounts of money so that these people, because that is the human brain, that is the human intelligence who is going to finally code. So they are the ones who are highly looked for. So human intelligence is one of all algorithm, or the human talent is one pillar of this AI race. But that alone is not sufficient. The second important pillar is your infrastructure itself. Okay, so your infrastructure, what does it include? It includes your semiconductor chips, because all these algorithms or this needs heavy processing. So whatever chips that you're having, that Intel chips, all these things are not sufficient. It needs, for example, a gaming needs a much advanced chip. Machine learning and artificial intelligence requires a much more advanced chip to process it in a quick manner. So who is having access to this particular chips? Because there is only limited players, hardly 2 or 3 players across the world who have that expertise, engineering expertise, to manufacture chips at an industrial scale. So who is able to form, who is able to get access to these chips? And that is where your NVIDIA is coming into picture. Okay, his CEO is now a public face. He is very proud about his own achievements. He is rightfully so, because the backbone on which these algorithms are going to run is also very important. Okay, so chips becomes an important part, and establishment of data centers, because these chips alone are not required. It requires energy to fuel this, to run these chips. So where are you establishing these data centers? The energy that you're going to get, is it going to be from renewable sources like wind energy, solar energy, or is it going to be from thermal power? Um, uh, so that the data or the infrastructure part of it is another important pillar. So whoever is having a strong hold over this infrastructure is going to be at an advantageous position. The last part is the data itself. If you don't have sufficient sufficient data which is of diverse nature, your algorithms cannot improve upon itself. You need certain training data to improvise upon your algorithms. Okay, so data becomes a very important. Access to data becomes a very important. That's why all the struggles. Newspapers are saying we are generating the data, but you are just skimming off our data. Authors, books, all the things which are publicly available in the internet, they are being used by all this artificial intelligence to train their data with or without the consent. So there is a big struggle which is going on with regard to access to data itself. Who is generating huge amount of data? Can we get access to this data so that we'll be able to refine it, understand it, mine it, and improve upon our algorithms? Okay, so these are the three pillars of your AI race. If you are able to understand these basic principles, you will be able to boil it down any issue that is happening in AI to either of these three pillars, right? And one more concept that you are supposed to understand is the difference between sovereign AI and AI sovereignty. So sovereign AI is the country's ability to build and own artificial intelligence from the scratch itself. Like it needs to have its own chips, ability to domestically manufacture its own chips, needs to have its own data centers, needs to have its own foundational algorithms or foundational models. It needs to have its own talent. It is a capability question. Sovereign AI is a capability question. AI sovereignty is more of a governance question. AI sovereignty is more about, is the government having the political and legal authority to control how the AI is going to operate within its domestic territory. Okay, so who is going to operate within our borders? On what terms are they going to operate within our borders? What are the accountability mechanisms that these AI systems needs to put in place so as to operate within the borders? That is about your AI sovereignty. Okay, it's about political or a governance question. For example, India, for example, is not having sovereign AI. We don't have good manufacturing chips. We don't have our own foundational models. Like we don't have our own GPTs. We don't have our own Geminis. We don't have our own Claude. These are all foundational models. What we have is our data. Because we are having 900 million users, internet users, day in and day out they're generating data. So if you ask, do we have a sovereign AI? No. Because in this pillar, we don't have the algorithm, we don't have the foundational models. We're trying to develop one through a Sarvam AI. We don't have the infrastructure because we are dependent on the chips. We don't have our own manufacturing capacity. Neither the data centers are, you can say, it is taking steps. You don't have it in a massive manner. What we are good at is with the data, because that is our strength. Our population is our strength in this AI race, right? So I think I hope you have understood the difference between sovereign AI and AI sovereignty, right? Now, let us try and understand what is India's position. I think first and foremost, as I already told you, India is a unique position because it is having 1/6 of the world's population. 1/6 of the world population is in India. So India cannot be neglected by any of the AI companies or any of the nations, right? Second thing, it is having the largest youth population, okay, because these are the ones who will be using all these cutting edge technologies, right? Also, there is a dynamic tech talent. Okay, our people are no less with regard to. In fact, most of these technology companies are having Indian origin talent who are in leadership roles, spearheading this AI development. So, likewise, India is having a good tech talent. So, we are having a unique position where we are not only a good adopters of artificial intelligence, but we are also creators of artificial intelligence, right? And obviously, as I told you, we are having data demography, 900 million internet users. and it provides multilingual, multicultural data at a global scale. 900 million is not a small number. They're not going to get such kind of a diverse, rich data anywhere across the world. Because the next frontier of AI technology is one which is context specific. AI which works or gives suggestions to an Indian should be different from AI which gives suggestions in Europe or in Africa. So it should be context specific. And if the AI wants to be context specific, it has to train on that particular data. And where do you get access to this diverse data? India. Because it is multilingual, multicultural, huge diversity, right? That is one of the strategic advantages of India, and our government is not sitting quiet. Okay, government has come up with 76,000 crore rupees India Semiconductor mission, which is an incentive package to ramp up your manufacturing of your domestic chips, all right? So that in that infrastructure pillar, we are trying to gain some foothold, but still lagging behind. We are having something called as IndiaAI mission, which was launched in 2024, where 10,000 crore rupees has been given. They say that let us purchase your GPUs, that is your graphic processing units, that is your chips from NVIDIA, and these GPUs can be used for research purposes, right? So 10,000 GPUs for public committees, this IndiaAI mission is being provided. But these are all small numbers, right? Any research lab, your Google or Microsoft or your OpenAI, they are having access to nearly 50,000 to 1 lakh GPU computes. Compared to that, India of this size having access to 10,000 GPUs. 10,000 crore rupees is nothing. Okay, $2 billion, nothing. This is the more than that your OpenAI company spends on a monthly basis, right? Next, we are having a good talent is there. Talent is there, but they are working abroad in other companies like Qualcomm, your Intel, your NVIDIA, okay, or in Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company. Semiconductor talent is also there, but they are not working in our country. Okay. So the challenge is, as I told you, the first and foremost thing is the compute deficit. It does not have enough strength in the infrastructure pillar. Okay, we don't have the capacity to manufacture semiconductor chips that are required for artificial intelligence and machine learning, and we are entirely dependent on the foreign supply, entirely dependent on NVIDIA, right? And legislation is also falling behind. Whatever we are having, Digital Personal Data Protection Act, which was passed in 2023, it deals with your personal digital data, not with artificial intelligence data or synthesized data. So we are lagging behind even in terms of your legislation. Contrast that with EU. It is already having layered AI regulations. The riskier the artificial intelligence, the greater is the scrutiny. Okay, so they are already updated their, you can say, AI regulations so that they channelize this AI development in the rightful manner. Okay, and as I told you, we don't have any foundational models. All our startups are building on top of all these foundational models. Like they're building on top of Gemini, they're building on top of ChatGPT or on top of Claude, right? We don't have the foundation models by ourselves. And most of our tech talent are not residing in India. Even though they are Indian origin tech talent, but they're not residing in India. They are going and working in other countries. Multiple reasons why they work in other countries. First thing is good package, autonomy, compute access. So even if I'm willing to work at less salary because I am having my love for my nation, but I don't have good compute facility, right? Some of my models need access to this big infrastructure. That thing is not there in India. So that talent will inevitably move to US or other places where he can express his talent to the full manner, right? And whatever is the partnership that we are having with regard to your NVIDIA to get access to semiconductor chips, that might trap us into dependency part of it. So this is the current position of India with regards to so-called AI race. We are only good with data pillar. The talent or the human intelligence or the algorithms or the foundational model pillar, we are weak. The infrastructure, the domestic manufacturing capacity of chips, data centers, we are weak. We are somehow trying to focus on the infrastructure part of it, at least in, if two pillars are there, they'll be able to bring in the third pillar, because getting the human talent is always the tough task. Because human talent will flow as long as there is good monetary incentive, as long as there is good ecosystem, as long as there is autonomy, as long as there is policy support, right? So our government is moving in a strategic manner to develop the infrastructure pillar part of it, and that's what is reflected in your semiconductor mission, nearly 80,000 crore rupees, and IndiaAI mission around 10,000 crore rupees, right? Now coming to this AI summit, what was this MANAV framework which was given out by our Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji? First thing, it is a signal that people and not technology are the center of India's AI strategy. So if you ask India, what is your AI strategy? They say that it is not about profit, it's not about dominance, it's not about control, it's about humans. Are humans' dignity being upheld by this technological development? Are humans benefiting from this technology? So that's the strategy or the core principle. Okay, so they say that AI, we are not fearful about AI. We are not fearful that it is going to replace us. We are positive in a sense that it is going to enhance our dignity. It is going to enhance humanity. That's the strategic perspective with which India is trying to look forward, right? So AI as an extension of human dignity and not a replacement for human judgment, right? It is going to enhance it. It is not going to replace it. And your Prime Minister Modi positioned MANAV as India's philosophical contribution to global AI governance. Okay, so India always wants to place itself as a Vishwaguru. It's having its strong philosophical principles. And India is now positioned this MANAV framework as the philosophical basis on which all your governance or regulations needs to be put in place. That's what India is trying to push for, or its positioning is for. Now, what is this MANAV? What does M stands for? M stands for moral and ethical systems. So whatever is the data that you're producing, it should be ethical in its structure, in its foundations. You cannot have a system which continues the prejudices that is present in the society. Your system needs to be moral, your system needs to be ethical, because your algorithms are basing it on the data, right? For example, if the data of criminals are pointing towards one particular sections of society, that is what we happened in your US, because your black Americans are disproportionately marginalized in the criminal justice system. And if the data flows into this, you can say this AI models, it is going to further legitimize it. It is going to further perpetuate this unethical practices that we see in the society. So they say that the system needs to be moral and ethical, right? Second, A stands for accountable governance. So whatever is your coding, end of the day, you need to be accountable for it. You cannot say it's my secret, I'll not be able to put it out, it's my interest, profit is important. No, you have to be accountable to someone. Okay. N is your national sovereignty. They say that governments always have the power to regulate a technology. You cannot say that I'm working in US, so you cannot control me or you cannot put me under certain regulations. No, you cannot do that. Eventually, governments have to have that sovereignty on how the AI is going to operate in the domestic territories. So national sovereignty should be an integral part of the AI development. A is very important. That's where India is trying to push its agenda. A is about accessible and inclusive AI. So it has to be impactful in the sense it has to be accessible to everyone. It has to take everyone into confidence while it's progressing. It cannot leave out any sections of society. So the moment you bring in accessibility and inclusive, you make sure that all these cutting edge technologies are not only benefited by wealthy, rich sections of society, it is also going to be useful for the larger sections of society. So a farmer should be benefiting from it, not only a wealthy businessman, not only a trade analyst, but even a farmer, a street vendor, all this, a nurse, they have to be benefiting. They have to have that benefits or of this artificial intelligence. So that's the framework with which India is trying to strategize the AI development. And finally is your V, which is your valid and legitimate systems. So all your systems, along with being moral and ethical, it has to be valid and it has to be legitimate in the sense it has to follow the rules and or the law of the land. Okay, so that's encapsulates the MANAV framework, like moral and ethical, accountable, national sovereignty, accessible and inclusive, and valid, right? So what should be the way forward? Is just the declaration enough, or should we take something, should take some concrete steps? Obviously, we have to take some concrete steps. First thing is compute independence, that whatever is the chip manufacturing capacity, we have to have a mission focused approach. It's not a 1 year or 2 year thing, it's a long term thing. We need to be sustainably focusing or continuously focusing on improving our domestic semiconductor manufacturing capacity. We have to also move towards foundational model development. There is certain I can say debate over here. Should we first try and develop on top of all these foundational models of US, or should we try and develop our own foundational models? But in the long term, I think it's good that we are having our own foundational models. See, right now, Zoho is an alternative for all your Microsoft Office tools. Today, we're all dependent on US technological products, be it all your ChatGPT, Gemini. Most of them are US based. Why can't we have something of our own? Okay, that's the idea. We have to develop something, a foundational model needs to be developed by our own. And we need to retain talent. How can we retain talent? If we give them competitive compensation, if we give them access to compute power, if we give them autonomy. And if you establish that ecosystem, obviously you'll be able to retain the talent. Our people are good at semiconductor designing. Our people are already working in other companies. Our people are good with regard to developing algorithms, already working in Google, Microsoft, Meta, and OpenAI. All we need is establish this system, try to convince them to come back and work for us, right? And finally, we need to make sure that we are having a dedicated AI legislations, so we don't fall back with regard to the regulation part itself, because AI is developing at a much faster pace than we are imagining, and law needs to catch up. Okay, only then it will be beneficial for the public at large. Okay, and we need to make sure that inclusive is built into all this AI development part of it. And at the same time, we should not let go of the strategic partnership that we are having with other companies, because for the short term, we need those strategic partnership, but that should not be at the cost of us being independent, us developing our own capabilities, right? So these are all some of the aspects on this particular issue. I hope you got a fair bit of an idea of what is this AI development, since it's a generalist perspective. We don't have to go into much more details of it. If this is understood, I think you'll be in a position to understand whatever is the next AI news that is going to come in the future, right? So that is all from my side. If you have any doubts, you can contact me on this number or you can drop a mail. Looking forward for your responses. Thank you.